We are going to look at the allegation by the deputy head of state, impeached deputy head of state, where he talked of food poisoning, where he is supposed to have his food in Kisumu was supposedly poisoned. He is also talking about his food in Nyeri during a council of elders meeting. The food was poisoned. Additionally, he is also talking about somebody entering his room in Kisumu, a member of the NIS. He's saying that the member of NIS, one member of NIS, entered his room in Kisumu. Entering, that is one. Two, poisoned his food. And then he says later on, when he was with the Kikuyu Council of Elders, some members of another team of NIS tried to poison his food in Nyeri. I wanted to give my expert opinion on it, and from the word go, I want it to be recorded that I highly doubt the authenticity of that story. It is all cooked up stories. And what annoys me most is that Reggie is a former district officer. So being a former district officer, I expect him much more, especially if it comes to the issues of NIS. When I listened to him saying that his room, yes, I had forgotten another thing about Kisumu. In Kisumu, he alleges three things happened. One, intruder, and not just intruder, poisoning his food. And three, bugging his room. I remember very well, it is quite possible that he read my statement to the TJRC. In my statement to the TJRC, he has quoted everything line by line, only replacing names, and dates. Replacing names and dates. I remember when I was training as an inspector of police, we used to be told that the speech, the farewell speech, is just the same. For example, you say that this inspectorate course assembled on dash day. We went for field craft on this day. We went for our midterm on this day. We did our exam on this day. So you just take a former speech and replace it with the dates that agree with the course that you are attending. Why am I saying that he borrowed from my statement? I wrote to the TJRC that when we had the Ouko Commission, Ouko inquiry, which was headed by Justice Gishero, Justice Gishero had an inquiry into the death of Robert Ouko in Kisumu. And when it became mandatory that Nicholas Kiprono Arab Biwot was to give evidence, then the commission was disbanded by the then head of state, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. And this is what happened. And this is what I think Rigiji must have lifted up from my notes. Justice Geshero, when he was conducting the inquiry into Ouko's death, a letter came that the president has disbanded the commission. The letter did not come through the Chief Justice. The letter did not come through the official channels. The letter was just dropped on him, and he saw the president's signature. So they consulted the three, were they three? The three judges consulted and said that now that the president has discontinued the commission, further sitting of this commission would mean further sitting of this commission would be going against our appointing authority. So in the middle of the day, they just decided that they had to write down and say the commission has ceased working. The commission has ceased working, and they went back to their rooms. And you see, the sittings used to start at a certain time, and it used to end at a certain time. Let's say this, just for the sake of clarity. Assuming that they used to start sitting at 10 a.m. and completed sitting at 4 p.m. Now it reaches noon and they get a letter from the office of the president, not through their channel, but through the provincial administration channel. The PC, Nyanza province, approached them with that letter. What do? Any further sitting would mean whatever they discuss at that time, it is not binding. So what they did is they just wrote that since the president has terminated our duty, then we stop working with immediate effect. So Justice Geshero, who later became Chief Justice, went to his room because the the intelligence officers then knew that he would leave his room, would be back, let's say starting at 4 p.m. They did not expect him to be back at noon. The hours I've given is just for clarification. So when he came back at noon, which I mean is when he came back earlier than he was expected to come back, he found intelligence officers laying listening devices to his room. And he said that the people who were placing their listening devices were intelligent. He suspected them to be intelligence officers. It is I who went public. It is I who, if you go to the TGRC today, you'll find that I have written that Barnabas Lubisia is the intelligence officer who did that. Now, if you just say, kulienda, kukaenda, without proof, it is a bit hard for, even if you are a truthful person, like he says he is, even if you are a truthful, you just throw here points there and there without substantiation. Because me, I placed a name of somebody there. I said, that is Barnabas Lubisia. Or nicknamed Baluke. Baluke. Ba is Barnabas, Lu is Lubisia. I think it's Kere, but I'm not very sure. So I placed a person there. And if that person feels that I mentioned him and he was not there, he can come out. Now here is the deputy head of state saying that intelligence officers went to his, and he doesn't even, in fact, he said one intelligence officer. Doesn't say who he is, doesn't say anything. He even goes to an extent of saying the intelligence officer had poison, which he poisoned in his food. According to law, poison is not poison. What happens is he should have taken that item, be it liquid or powder, and taken them to a government chemist. It is only after the government chemist has seen that, because I could come with Vinzari and say this is poison, and you'll also believe it is poison. So according to law, ask anybody, any the laws of Kenya would only say, and that is why you find even police officers, when they have arrested the people with a bang, they say that we have arrested him with substance that we suspect to be bang. So we are taking it to the to our labs to certify what this item is. So in the absence of proof, in the absence of proof, I will take it that he just came across my entry in the TJRC on how Justice Ivan Sigesheru was to be poisoned in Kisumu Hotel. Then he talks of his food wanting to be poisoned because of at a time when he was with Kikuyu Council of Elders. They say that when you are in a hole, the last thing you should do is dig a hole. The biggest problem my cousin has, and the people don't understand me when I say he's my cousin. Of all VIPs I've said are my cousins, we have a common ancestor. But I call Rigiji my cousin because my mother came from those areas and my mother is buried there. Ask any person who comes from Madera, not just Madera, Madera West. My mother is buried at a place called Kayava. Or if you want me to mention the name of the church, it is Kiriko PCEA. And my mother went to Kiriko Primary School. So the issue of me calling him my cousin, it is because I am anchored in a neighboring village. Now, in intelligence, in NIS, we are told that any statement that is a photocopy of the other, be careful, for it might just be a photocopy of the other. He knew, my cousin knew, that Ivan Sigeshero, Justice Ivan Geshero, was supposed to be poisoned in an hotel in Kisumu. And so he decided also to say that. Kisumu people, I think you should complain of your name being spoiled. I want to ask my viewer, can you just come out of nowhere, enter into an hotel that the deputy head of state is staying at, and go to his food and poison it? The Kikuyus say, henia wanyu. And Rigiji arahenia ado ake mono. I don't know how to translate that. During my time of service with the NIS, when it was called Special Branch, Nakuru, we were so many. So others were assigned that duty. But in Eldoret, I remember I used to be in charge of VIP when they came to Eldoret. In Eldoret, we had there are occasions when the president would come. Mostly, there are so many things he would come to do in Eldoret, but I'll only mention two. He would come to Moi University as the chancellor during the graduation. He would also come to a recruit training school for the passing out of recruits. VIPs used to be accommodated at Sirikwa Hotel. So, if you dropped me in Kisumu, I'd be lost. But for a deputy head of state to visit a town, he is accommodated in what we call presidential suite. He is accommodated at a presidential suite. He is not just accommodated in a 8 by 8 room in Lwandeti, whereby you go for a long call in the middle of the night, you come back and find that your phone has been stolen from your room. No. The deputy head of state is given what is called a presidential suite. A presidential suite is a specially made house. Okay, it is called presidential, but it is just a name. But the house is so secure that it occupies the upper floor of a five-star hotel. For you to reach that presidential suite, you have to pass through several houses, several rooms. Uh, Presidential suite is never occupied always. You may find that it is even occupied maybe once in a year. Once in a year. Because there is that house with about 6 bedrooms. There is an office place there. There is everything you could think about. That is towards the end. Then the next place is accommodation for supporting staff. Supporting staff. They have their rooms left, right, and whatever. And before you reach the lift, the last people you reach before you go to the lift are the security officers. Now, when you are in the presidential suite, you have two options when it comes to eating. Do you go to the ground floor, to the main hotel, and eat like any other person? Or do you use your supporting staff whom you have come with to prepare food for you? Now, I don't, as I said, I don't know Kisumu very well, but trying to imagine Sirikwa Hotel, somebody in the presidential suite, you going up to that place. You can even see, if you want to know that he's cheating, you can see the security that was in Sirikwa before the president signed that Professor Kindiki is the deputy president designate. I will take a few seconds to describe Kindiki. When the elections were held and the ticket of these two people were declared the winner, Ruto, up to the time when they were declared winners, Ruto was the deputy president. So his security immediately was changed to president-elect. And Gashagua's security was uplifted from a running mate position to vice president-elect. This is what I'm trying to say. When Gachagua, at that time at Bomas, Gachagua was given a new rank of deputy president-elect. The difference between him and Kindiki is that Kindiki was not elected. A vacancy is said to have occurred, and a vacancy can come through death, through sickness, through resignation, and through impeachment. So he was chosen to be the next deputy president. So he is a deputy president designated and not deputy president elect. So before Kindiki was made deputy president designated, Gashagua's security was lowered, was even removed. Now he became so vulnerable, and I do believe that it is quite possible that he asked for a discharge from Karen Hospital on security matters. Now that the security was withdrawn, he became vulnerable, so he asked for permission to be discharged. It is quite possible that I have no evidence. So going back to Kisumu, telling me that somebody went to a presidential suite with a poison and he was arrested, and the person said is an NIS officer. I know Rigiji with NIS, they are not on good terms, but supposing somebody else was out there to eliminate him, and then he is caught red-handed, because there is no way me and you, we can confirm what happened because we were not there. Suppose it is true somebody went there with a packet of curry powder, and then either he surrendered himself or even he was caught and said, you see, that is what we call Operation Shika Msumari. You do something, the blame goes to the other person. But I need a lot of convincing to tell me that somebody can go into a presidential suite, place poison in food, and then go away. And when he stops, he says, I work for the NIS. They say, oh, NIS, but Peter went. There is no evidence. And the people are saying that it is the duty of the DCI to investigate, and they should not ask Gachagua to assist them in investigation. Yes, they don't need Gachagua. What they need is for somebody who caught this intruder red-handed, the person who caught this intruder red-handed, to go and say, I went to Gashagua's presidential suite and I found this person and I found these documents, these listening documents. So that, and I found him with this powder. The powder should be taken to the government chemist to confirm whether it is curry powder or it is poison. The listening devices would be taken to communication experts to show that these are active listening devices. You can take their listening devices that are expired, So we have to have those people. Now you know the person who went there. You are not saying who he is. You know that he had listening devices. You are not giving those listening devices. He had, is it liquid? Is it powder? Poison? You are not giving it to the government chemist to verify it. And I can tell you as a former police officer, we used to have a lot of problems. Politicians could talk on public gallery, but they don't come. So they say, huku vijana wanapiga watu ngeta sijui nini. And then you tell him, Mheshimiwa, can you give me a few boys to give me evidence so that hiyo ni kazi yenyu. And then later when you arrest those boys, it's the same person who says, like Honorable Beth Mugo, she was complaining about boys waiting for people on the way kwa piga ngeta. There was a Kisii OCS who started shooting those boys. And then Beth Mugo started complaining, huyu atamaliza watoto wetu, let him be transferred out of Riruta. So there is no way we can investigate such things without anybody volunteering and explaining the things they were. Although, as I said, that it is quite possible that it is this thing that is just coming up. Mentioning of Kikuyu elders, he's trying to bring about this tribal, tribe what? He's trying to galvanize the tribe. I didn't want to say this. I didn't want to say that even him taking the cases to court and whatever, he's taking the case to the High Court, he'll take it to the Court of Appeal, he'll take it to Supreme Court. He is only delaying. His intention is to delay as much as possible all these cases until as far away as possible. So, what he has planned is that he's trying to galvanize his tribe behind him for 2027. But then, I don't know how successful he'll be, especially if the impeachment stands. Now, I also want to take you back to Kisumu at the time when he is saying that an NIS intelligence officer entered his room and poisoned his food. This is a time when he was widely cheered. There was no tension. Okay, there was unrelated tension between him and the president because he himself says that the tension has been there for over a year. That is what he has been saying. But look at the timing. This is the time when we had a meeting in Nairobi, can't recall where. We had a meeting where local regional heads of states and government came to support Raila. And he also gave a very good speech about Raila. Immediately after that, him and Ruto went to Kisumu and they were very much widely cheered. They were widely cheered by people in Kondele, and that is where people are wondering, hey, but I know. You see, I'm also a victim of that, but I'll say that later. So the environment when he went to Kisumu, he cannot convince anybody at that time and whatever, he would have been poisoned. For what purpose? For whatever. It is said, and I don't know whether it is true, that he was told to his face that can you write a resignation letter? Then from that time is when he's supposed to be to look over his shoulders to see if anything is happening. But before then, there was no reason for, and this is something that I have to warn my Mufiala. I have to tell Mufiala that he's treading on a dangerous ground because I have said before that when Jacob Juma said that if I die, Ruto should be blamed. Now, if the way Rigathi Gachagua is saying, anybody who hates Ruto, there are several people. There is somebody who hates Gachagua, can kill him. There is somebody who hates Ruto, can kill Gachagua so that Ruto is blamed. You can see what happened in the Jacob Juma case. So, what happens? Whoever kills, even if Ruto sends people to kill Gachagua, Gachagua will end up, Pastor Dorcas will end up being a widow. Is that what he wants? Sometimes we don't have to behave like mujahideen, suicide bombers. If Gachagua is assassinated now, the damage that will happen to Ruto, because he has already said, you can see a small person like Jacob Juma, even up to today, Ruto is still suffering from the effect of Jacob Juma saying so. So if Rigathi is killed now, especially in an unexplained circumstance. We had the fellow, there was a governor, not his brother, there was a governor in Nyeri who had an accident along Thika superhighway. Now, suppose Gachagua has that and dies in that circumstance, and he has already mentioned that somebody is out to kill him. You see, your own family will suffer more than what Ruto will suffer. By far, I know Ruto will suffer a lot should anything happen to you right now. But look at it from your family. How will it affect your kids? How will it affect your grandchildren? How will it affect how will it affect Pastor Dorcas? Look at the bigger picture. Don't play to the gallery. This one now gives me the last moments to talk about system of food poisoning that used to happen a long time ago. I do not know whether that tactic is still in use today. The greatest people who used food poisoning were two. One was called J.F. Kennedy, and the other one was called Fidel Castro. J.F. Kennedy used to send CIA people to Cuba, and he discovered that for food that Castro would take today is the food that was prepared yesterday. The food would be prepared on day one, and then it would continue having testers. He is one person, so tomorrow's lunch would be prepared now for about 20 people. Immediately the food is ready, somebody is given to test. After an hour, somebody else is given. After an hour, that way until tomorrow lunchtime is when he is given. Then Kennedy came up with an idea, two-way, that since the food is prepared and it stays in, he stays for a day without eating. So that if it is poisoned, by the time it completes 10 hours, there is a lot of people who have died. So he came up with an idea that a powder be placed in Castro's food, a powder be placed in Castro's food, a powder that when he eats, it takes 2 weeks to work. Why 2 weeks? The 2 weeks was to be placed there. If you place poison in Castro's food, he eats and dies there. The airports are closed, and anybody who was near the president would be placed in the cells, and investigations would be made, and the person would be connected to the CIA. So it was said that the poison be placed in the food so that by the time effects are now people start seeing the effects, the CIA agent has already run away. The CIA agent has already run away from Cuba and is back in Florida. And the drug that was supposed to be placed there was not to kill Castro on the spot. It was to make him get old. Now, suppose Castro was 45 years. On his 46th birthday, he would have gained 10 years, not 9, not 1, 10 years. He is 45. The following year, he's 46. But if you look at him, he looks like somebody who's 55. When he goes to 47, he looks like somebody who's 65. That way. So his body starts aging very fast. And within 5 years, he dies of aging. But it came out that thing never happened. Another trick that they tried to use also was that he liked cigars. So there was a plan to place his cigars, some things which would also be poisonous. All these things did not happen. And as you know, uh, Kennedy died ahead of him for more than 20 years or even 30. We also hear where people say that Nicholas Kipiator Kiprono Arabiwot had an umbrella, and when he was talking to Masinde Muriro, Henry Pius Masinde Muriro, he punched him with an umbrella, and then Henry Pius Masinde Muriro collapsed. No, it was not that way. As I told the TJRC, an air hostess on the plane is the one who placed something on in NIS, either food or drink. But then here comes the question of umbrellas being used. I wanted to finish my topic by telling you how KGB of Russia, of the USSR, used to use an umbrella to assassinate people. There are so many KGB, there are so many KGB agents who ran away to London. And when they went to London, they started disclosing secrets of the USSR. They started disclosing secrets of the USSR, and there was always this problem, which I've said about CIA officers going to Cuba, and also KGB agents also had a problem while going to London. They were being sent to London to eliminate KGB agents who have crossed over. You cross over to London, you are given a good house, you are given good security, you are given good money, you live a good life so that you just stay forever in London. Now, KGB tried to get these people, they could not get them. So, what KGB used to do is that you have seen people who act in movies. Somebody in his 30s, they apply a few white colors to his head, he becomes an elderly, older than I am. An actor acts as if he's a very old person. So what they used to do is that they used to have umbrellas, the KGB, which had a tip with poison. Now, if you have ever noticed, I don't know about the British of today, but if you notice, British are the people who brought up these umbrellas to us. We have different umbrellas today, but if you look at the British umbrella, it is an umbrella that when it is tied, it becomes a walking stick. It has a J-like formation. So when this fellow is walking around with that, he looks like a very old person. And he has been given briefs on whom he's going to look for. So he goes, finds you along Uhuru Highway, tells you, young man, assist me to cross the road. So you cross the Uhuru Highway on one side, and when you cross on the one side, he walks around with that because his umbrella is both a walking stick and at the same time an umbrella. So you assist him to cross the road, but as you're walking, he is unstable the way he was just walk. As he's unstable, he punches you. You hear a small pain like that of an injection and says, "Oh, Paul, my boy, sorry, I've just nini lakini pole. Then you cross over the road. As he goes to the other side, he just disappears. And when you are out of sight, that is when he'll now start running Kemboi style. He'll run Kemboi style. He'll go to where he is. Things are ready. He puts on good dresses and has a he washes he has a bath, washes off the gray hair. He becomes a young person. Goes to the airport. Goes back to Moscow. In the evening, you start having funny feeling like malaria, like whatever. That is when it occurs to you that somebody punched you with a poisoned tip of that. The two the two were used because there are so many times when agents would go to do something and they are arrested and jailed for 20 years in a foreign country. So these things used to be happening with an intention of giving the agent time to escape. And that is why when I was talking about regarding so-called poisoning, I'm talking from an expert point of view. Yeah, from an expert point of view. Regarding Gachagua is now I want to ask him. I want to ask my Mufiala that he's now the Jonah. Jonah. Regarding Gachagua is now the Jonah whom we will ask whom we will ask to get away because he's the one who is making the boat or the ship be unstable. Can he just agree to go back to the ocean and be swallowed? Can he accept to go back to the sea and be swallowed so that we others go on? Otherwise, if he continues being with us, he will make all of us sink from our ship called Kenya.